So welcome everybody, and thank you for here being at Techorama TV again. This session will be about developers again, because developers are the center of Techorama, I would say. With me, I have an esteemed panel this morning. I would love to have all of you introduce yourself, and then we will take it from there. Dennis.
All right, thank you for having me. My name is Dennis Doomen. I'm a software developer, consultant, open source developer, and I occasionally speak at conferences.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my name is Fons Sonnemans. I'm a trainer. I train people, write C# code and other stuff in .NET. And I write games for the Microsoft platform. And that's fun to do, and you learn a lot about it.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
And I'm Alex Thyssen. Thanks for having me. I'm an architect, but I also like to do development, learn about the things and not just draw boxes and arrows. And I work at ZBR as a consultant, so I visit many companies and see many different places where solutions are being developed.
Awesome, thank you so much. And you might think, hey, where is Rockford Lhotka? But Rocky had some medical things, so Alex replaces him at the moment. But he was like a hero, still on stage, but we had to get him off there with a stick and actually get him some care. So that's the reason we...
It's almost the same, it's just the long hair is missing. The color is the same.
There you go. So I would like to start with perhaps a little bit of an obvious question, but if you look at the developer ecosystem nowadays, and you would have been, I would say, at your early days in this business, would you like to become a developer again, or would you have chosen something else? So I would like to start with you, Dennis. What's your perspective on that?
It's interesting that when I was, I think, 8 or 9, I started programming on my Commodore 64, and I always knew that this is what I wanted to do. And it's really cheesy, because I have kids, 16 and 13, which have no clue what they're going to be doing. I've literally, and I've said it many times, I made a career out of my hobby. It really is, and it still is. Yeah. I love it every day, and I wouldn't change anything.
You wouldn't change anything. So given the fact that things are changing so fast, so many frameworks nowadays, the whole AI thing.
No.
Still the same?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I love it.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, following your passion is one of the things that often helps a lot, I would say, in enjoying life. But it's good to know. Any of you want to add something to this? Do you have a different perspective, or?
Okay. So what I see is also starting with Commodore 64 at that era. Things were simple, overseeable, and you could know pretty much everything there was to know on that area. So you could finish the end level and know that, like, I completed this one. I know much about this, but it's become so huge and big. I think it's a luxury of choice is now a thing, but you need to choose what to focus on, because you can't do it all anymore. That said, would I change anything? Well, levels of abstraction have grown. The scale of things has also increased tremendously, but it's still, getting something to build something that starts living, so to speak, is still a wonderful thing to observe. Like, I write this code, and then something happens over there. It's just, now it's all across the world instead of just your local game computer or whatever you were programming. But still, the joy of creation is there. So yes, I would definitely still choose to be a developer and do the technical thingies.
So would you say that at the moment, if you are a student, that you still would advise to go into software development in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the opportunities are really great and way better than when we started with, of course, a Commodore 64 and later the Amiga and that kind of old school stuff. But we had limited resources. We had just a few books. There was no internet and that kind of stuff. And now, yeah, they can look up everything, and they have a friend in AI and Copilot and that kind of stuff, which can really help them and improve their skills way faster than we could. So yes.
So if you would look at, okay, let's go. We're all a little bit old here as we're sitting here. So if you look back, like say 20 years ago, what do you see that really improved or really became worse?
Really improved is the availability of knowledge. having videos about every topic, having AI at your just inside your Visual Studio. You don't have to Google anything anymore. That has improved. Another thing is, it's really big nowadays. When we started, the programming languages were way easier and way limited. And yeah, everything is big, so you need to know about a lot of subjects, a lot. And yeah, that might be a challenge for a starting software developer.
Yes?
AI is huge. And AI is a general term, but the fact that we have co-pilots and AI assistants, that is huge. That completely changed everything. But what I've noticed, that we now have, let's say, junior developers that are hesitant of using AI because they're afraid they will not develop the learning skills, the skill to dive into a topic and learn it for ourselves, which we all had to do. And I think we all at an age that whatever it's thrown at us, we'll be able to figure it out because we see the patterns, we see the repetition, we see that things are basically the same as they used to be. And we can ask AI for that, but we can still answer that the AI gives us. We can understand that and give it a place in the bigger problem that you're trying to solve. Whereas junior developers, I've actually junior developers that used AI to generate a solution which they didn't understand themselves. And that is troublesome for me.
Yeah.
What will happen in 10 years? I don't know. I don't know.
No, we don't have the glass ball, but
Yeah,
of course
otherwise I would
there's a lot
invest in
going on.
Bitcoin and see what happens. So.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think happened over the 20 years that you mentioned, 20 years ago was more of a specialized skill that was all by itself. You had the IT guys and the developers, so maybe a bit stereotyped persons. And over the years, it's become more common to do development things, and even citizen developers, like people from the business developing solutions. It's become more pervasive and also not as isolated as it used to be anymore. So it's much more ingrained now in culture, in organization structures where business and IT merge instead of that's the developer person over there. So it has been spreading out across organizations, made more accessible to people. So it's not as much as a specialized skill anymore, and everybody can easily step in, especially given some AI assistance. But that does beg the question, do you get your basics and fundamentals straight so you at least know what you're building and what good things are instead of, not having that background knowledge.
So I hear already like a couple of times mentioned that AI made some impact there. Do you now see that AI has become also a little bit of the teacher?
100%.
Yeah?
100%. I've had Copilot fix problems in my open source project, which I couldn't figure out what the solution would be. And it showed me things I didn't know.
But was it then the fixer or was it the teacher?
It was the teacher because it used a solution that I didn't find any documentation on. I have no clue how it found it. That actually taught me something. So absolutely.
There are so many ways to use AI. You can use it to generate code, but you can also use it to, please explain this. And if you use the explain feature a lot, it's absolutely the teacher. But yeah, you have to ask it. And if you never do, yeah. But
So then coming back to the youngsters that are getting into our industry, what would be your suggestion on how to get started? Because what I hear is that it's become more pervasive. There's a lot of stuff that we need to learn. So where do you start nowadays?
Work with us.
Work with us.
Start small.
I think that like small, but get started. Just start tinkering, experimenting, learning.
But would you start like using YouTube? Would you start using a Copilot? Is it still just no? I just first learn the basics, algorithms, those kind of things, and then move from there?
It depends on your learning style, I guess. I mean, there's people that really want to be more practical at the beginning and see how things work, get their heads around it, and then go up to the patterns, the concepts, and those kind of things. And there's people that say, okay, no, I want to have the overview first, so more of a theoretical approach. And then once I read how to drive, I'll step into a car and start doing it. So it's a different approach on things, whatever works for people. But like Fons said, it's all out there. So there's just all-you-can-eat buffet of knowledge, samples, experiences. The only thing that I find is that AI can be a really good teacher and mentor, and also you still need to think for yourself as well, because sometimes the AI, non-deterministic and maybe giving answers in areas, it might come up with things that aren't actually true. So it's a teacher that you need to verify. So the human in the loop also applies to the learning.
Yeah, so it's like your teacher, but you don't always trust him, more or less.
Exactly.
Like any teacher
Yes.
Like any teacher, which...
or conference speaker.
Okay. Or any speaker, that's an interesting one. So
But I
everybody
see-
that went to Dennis's session, be careful there.
I see that the teenagers are really interested in writing software, but what kind of software? It's often games. That game industry, they often start with, I want to write a game because I'm a player, I'm a gamer, and I want to create, I want to get rich soon and quick, and they think they can write FIFA or something else. But starting with a game is maybe a smart solution. They can be really small, they can be really huge, but if you're smart, you start small.
Well, thank you so much. So one of the other things that I noticed over the years is that there are more and more and more frameworks out of there. So it seems like for every solution we get at least a dozen frameworks and then some more. So where do you see that we're going at the moment in our industry? Is it becoming like everybody wants to build their own framework, or are there just the few that you say, well, no, those are the ones that will be really selected and the ones to go for?
We suffer from the not invented by me syndrome, so probably everybody wants to create their own framework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a non-issue. It's going to happen at all anyway, and there will be something new in a couple of years. It's just an ongoing thing. I don't see it settle.
Because
in any way.
I think in our industry, but that's just my perspective, we have the shiny object syndrome. I mean, every time there's something shiny, or we name stuff different, right? I mean, first we had DevOps, and then all of a sudden now we're doing SRE. No, now we're doing platform engineering, and all we strive for is more or less the same. Is that the same with the frameworks out there, or is that a different thing that's going on?
As an open source developer, I'm always looking for ways to make things easier, more productive. And I think even if you look at the front end, React, Vue.js, people are just trying to come up with a way to make it easier to get things done quickly. And that's going to last. I don't think, until we reach the point where we're not going to write code ourselves anymore, because AI is doing everything, it will just go on. New things will appear every time. New languages are being created, basically because somebody thinks it can be done differently. We're all developers. We all like to do things better and faster and more efficient.
We like new stuff. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We like new stuff.
And there's currently a huge rate of change with we are inventing things as we grow in how well we understand it. So for example, when you talk about frameworks, there's a semantic kernel and AutoGen to work with AI. That's the Microsoft frameworks for that. But you might have started learning that. But now already there's a new one that supersedes the other two with the agents framework. So things move forward very fast. So I think it's more a matter of are the frameworks important? Well, maybe it's more the adaptability to the change that is happening so fast. So how fast can you adopt a framework, and how fast can you move to the next one?
So would you perhaps say that the fact that we are getting AI is actually a blessing for our industry, because otherwise we cannot keep up with the pace that we have if it comes to all that change all the time?
Well, to quickly step in on to that is that I think that it seems like the AI brings us wonderful things, but it's also we don't really understand it as well. So we're learning as we go along on best practices, what to do, how to guardrail, how to what are we doing? So it feels like back 20 years again, when we first learned how to do web applications with a database, it was all SQL injection faults everywhere because nobody knew that string concatenation was not a good thing. And sometimes I have the feeling that we are in the AI version of that. So we're using AI, but prompt injection or other ways that things can go bad is where we are learning, okay, how do we tame this beast? It's a powerful thing, but it's also, comes with caution.
So I saw you smile a little bit too when I
Yeah,
posted
it will
questions.
backfire. I think AI is beautiful. I love AI, but it will backfire. And I don't know how. My brother works for the defense industry.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's scary what they are thinking about how to use AI over there. And maybe it will
Terminator.
yeah, maybe it will not backfire really in our industry, but it will backfire in the world.
And that with everything. I mean, when people got mobile phones, that was mind blowing.
Yeah.
And that can be misused. And then there's the energy signals that go through your brain. There's always something that people are afraid of.
Yeah.
And then mistakes happen, accidents happen, then we fix it, the regulations will come. At some point there will probably be regulations on how AI should be used or can be used and when not, and like GDPR. It will solve itself. And some things will happen.
I hope so.
So if you now look nowadays with AI, so what can a developer do to distinguish himself towards other developers that are out there if it comes to either the usage or not using AI at the moment? What makes a good developer nowadays?
I think the basic traits haven't changed. You still need to understand the patterns, the context, the business problem that you're trying to solve. For me, the AI, general term AI, Copilot and stuff, is just a smart way to generate a lot of code really quickly. But in the end, I still need to maintain it myself. It is scary. I've actually, in my open source project, assigned issues to Copilot, get a full pull request, and wow, it's really good actually. It's using my convention and everything. But in the end, it's still my code. It doesn't change that.
Alex?
Yeah, so what I think a good developer, now with AI assistance, you can be more productive, write better code. That I think, so it smoothed the path. It's no longer that much of a challenge to get the code and get it working and get it fixed. So a good developer will focus more on the problem at hand, which is what Dennis alluded to, the solving the business problem. So getting more into domain knowledge of what are we trying to solve here, how can IT help, so make it less of a developer party, but more of we team with the business to get new features, new business ideas out there. And so I would say that a developer is more of a business developer as well, creating new things that add value to an organization or whatever you're doing in your development tasks.
So how important is it then nowadays which language you choose to program? I mean, if I hear it's more like the business speak, knowing the business well, I mean, there's still this thing that now we have Kotlin, now we're doing Java, or we're doing Kotlin, or we're doing Scala, or we're doing, C#. How important is it? TypeScript, of course, yeah.
Is it not the same question as which cloud framework do we use? Do we use Azure? Do we use Amazon? Isn't this more like the company that you start working for is the one that kind of dictates where you start with? Or the education that you get a certain language and you liked it and you start using it?
But my question is more like, is it still important?
Yes.
And then how would you select which language you would go for? Because starting at a company might be it, but would there be something that you say, well, if you're in this area, you really should go in this direction?
I don't think there is a language specific for an area. I think most languages are multi-purpose things. Frameworks are specific for an environment.
But you do see that Python, for example, is very popular in the data science corner.
Yeah.
Until it reaches a certain critical mass, and then they have to use a real programming language.
Yeah.
C#. No, I don't think, it's not something, I mean, how did I end up with C#? Because I was programming C++. And then I happened to work for a company that was doing MFC, if you remember that, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then C# came, and then it was become a natural thing. Why do companies adopt JavaScript and TypeScript? Because they are the startup and they don't want to pay licenses and they didn't know that .NET is free, and they choose the cheapest option available. or because their university was primarily using Python or Kotlin, and then they continued using that.
Yeah, Alex?
Yeah, I think that some languages have a special area where they are effective. So take F#, for example, as a functional language. I tend to stick to the fit for purpose idea. So what is it? Its purpose is to write functional style logic, for example. Would I build a complete web application in F#? It's not probably what its purpose is, what it's intended for. So do I select it? Well, then you get into opinions and how well people like it. And we chose this because Eric likes it very much, so now we're all using it, but it's not really intended for this scenario. So yeah, I think it would still matter. Does it matter much? No, well, as long as you contain the area where it's used and are not afraid to use something else somewhere, some other language in another area, it's just a matter of choice and about knowledge that people have.
Yeah, look at your background. What kind of employees do you have? What background do you have? And that will decide which language I will choose.
So did our industry change a little bit on that matter, I would say? Because when I entered the industry, it was like you were a Java developer or you were a C# developer, and
That's
there was
still the
like
case.
really
Still
like
the
a
case.
religion.
Still
right?
the case.
I don't get it. Why would you do Java? But
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I train people in C# and sometimes they are Java developers, but yeah,
it's all the same.
it's all the same,
Yeah.
just a different syntax and
It
different
is, it
framework
is,
and different tooling, but the way of thinking is the same. Object orientation is more or less, yeah, it's just the same.
I do workshops.
You just need, frameworks are really big and languages are really big, so you need a lot of experience. So it takes a long time to learn a new environment, but I don't think that C# is really better than Java. I like C#. I see pluses, I see minuses, but
So
Yeah,
sure.
that's a
Let me throw in some controversy here then. So would it perhaps be the case that with AI we're doing it all wrong? Because why are we still generating C# or Java or whatever, and why not just executables? Because why would I still need an intermediate language?
If AI becomes so good that we just tell it what to do, like a Star Trek, that would be the point where we don't care about the actual language anymore because we just deliver value.
yeah, but I don't think we will still have a job. I don't think we will still do anything. Then everything can be done with AI.
I'm not sure.
I don't think that will happen.
There was a presentation by Richard Campbell
Yeah.
about the future of AI, and he claimed that currently the development innovation has kind of halted a little bit. Like we're not even close to what is it called, super intelligence or something. So for now we're fine. On the other hand, if you see how fast it went, like 3-4 years, people were talking about ChatGPT, and now I can just in GitHub assign a pull an issue to a pull request, and it will create something that is as good as I can do.
Yeah.
And my point is
those-
more that we're always talking about like, yeah, the AI is not generating C# how I would do it, or Java
It
how I
does.
would do it.
But it does.
But nowadays it does much better job. But then still
Yeah.
the question is, should it generate anything like that? Because then it could also compile it just to something native, right?
It might just be the next level of abstraction because
Sure.
way back, you mentioned 20 years, but we can go 30 years back with the age at the table here.
40.
Then we would be writing machine code and then a permanent interrupt handlers, for example. And then we started writing C and the other higher abstraction level languages. And then it became a better, even more abstraction of the operating system. And then now it's in the cloud and that's even abstracted away. So at some point we will probably abstract away the actual lines of code that are underneath, and it will just generate something that can run, or it might be an agent that does the work for you when you instructed it how to do that. So yeah, we will probably get there, but new level of abstraction and natural selection of the people that stay behind, because nobody's doing machine code programming anymore except for very special scenarios. So still useful, but not for the big picture.
Yeah, but what AI generates is something I have to check, I have to validate. And if it generates machine code, I don't think that we have enough people who can validate that. So you then really have to trust them.
Wasn't that the same argument which we had when we were getting compilers?
And just-in-time compilers. I remember that we were programming in C++, and people said, "Wait, we have a garbage collector. That's going to perform horribly."
Yeah.
This is a non-issue. We don't even talk about this anymore.
Oh,
People don't even know what a garbage
it's
collector
still an issue. Believe me, I see.
is. If you build semi-real-time software.
Yeah. So
But how many people do that? You?
a lot. No, I don't. But a lot of my customers are in machine.
Industrial automation.
Industrial automation, and they really think about that kind of subjects.
Okay. But is it a real issue? Are they worried about something, or is it a real issue?
Sometimes it depends.
Yeah.
Often it is.
It might be a trust issue as well.
And it's often a trust issue.
I worked on MRI scanners, and they said like C# is not fast enough, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Where you come from, in that area of the country, and it was never an issue.
Yeah.
You know, we created interop assemblies and stuff like that, but at the end, everything was changed from C++ to C# because it performed beautifully.
Yeah.
It was good enough at a certain point, right? And that's probably where we're heading to. And let's be honest, what was the last time you checked what the compiler generated? And what we often don't know is that compilers are non-deterministic themselves as well. So it's kind of, the arguments are going back and forth, I think.
But that is an issue because I remember when I learned programming, I also understood how a CPU worked, how memory worked, what a thread does, how preemptive multitasking, what it is. Most people don't even know that anymore. Now we have .NET developers that actually do not know what the thread, what the stack is, what the heap is, what the difference is between value objects and reference types, because they don't really need to think about it that much anymore. We had to. So the whole abstraction level increases.
And we've had conversation on this, Marcel, where we said, okay, is it still needed to know all the lower level details? And on average, no, except when things go bad. Then when you need to do root cause analysis and you don't understand the magic that is happening under the covers, then it becomes really hard to track it down. And that's where you can lean on the things that probably are still the basics, the fundamentals that it just are easier to access from your point of view, unless you need to know what is going on under the hood.
So we were just discussing a little bit about different languages, the more complexity, getting into the industry and learning all these things. Now shifting gears a little bit into architecture, what is at the moment that you see the most, I would say, drive at the moment in the industry if it comes to architecture? Because sometimes it feels like me that if you haven't done microservices, you're not welcome here anymore. You're not counting anymore. Any comments on that?
Now there need to be agents, otherwise you don't count anymore. So everything needs to be an agent now. I see the trend towards putting agents into your architecture, and agentic AI using that in the architecture is now the next big thing. And we're just getting started. So we're learning from doing, but it's challenging to do it right.
But now we have MCP, abstractions, which makes it ridiculously simple to expose data to an AI, which like a year ago was still complicated. And now, what is it? Google came with the next thing, Skills, or was it Anthropic? Skills is the next thing to make it easier to build agentic applications.
Yeah,
Getting easier.
It's the floor is moving as we walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a nice game. Then hope you don't drop into the lava, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at these things, we've seen all these different patterns emerge. Then it was all of a sudden microservices. Then it was now the monolith again, the
Modular monolith.
modular monolith. Now we see the agentic stuff popping up all of a sudden. Is there something that you think is profoundly different about agentic?
Other than I have no clue how these large language models work. I honestly do not understand that I can sit in my car, start ChatGPT, spend an hour having a discussion with somebody who sounds like a person, breathes like a person, pauses like a person. I have honestly, like, up to AI, I could reason how things work, But this part, I don't know.
And do you feel that you need to know it?
Some days I feel like I should get an understanding, but some days I feel like I have other problems to solve. I'll just use it as a tool.
I just
know?
gave up.
You just gave up.
I just gave up. AI is there and it works, and the magic behind it. Try to study it. Thought I understand it. I don't.
But it's also perhaps the abstraction levels that we're in. Like we don't all know exactly how the CPU works, but we know how to program the thing. So is that a little bit the same
I
kind
don't know
of
how
perspective?
CPUs work either.
You can, if you look at the architecture of a CPU, you recognize patterns and
Yeah,
names,
yeah,
and you
a
can
bit.
think.
I think, but do I really?
No, not
I
in detail.
think-
But the basic principles are still there.
Yeah.
You know, there's something like memory and how it's connected, and there's flip-flops. You know, if you go
Yeah.
back in time. But with
yeah.
AI, they say it's basically prediction based on lots of data.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
not
that part.
debuggable, it's not reproducible, it's not...
But how can it speak to me like a person?
Yeah.
That I don't get. That's
So-
the only thing.
Well, we're probably not going to explain how large language models work here, but what I find interesting in terms of agentic and architecture, I enjoy all the new insights that we get from the patterns that emerge, like, for example, orchestration between agents that work together to come to a solution, or Magentic 1 as a pattern, and there's many new styles of how do you use agents, like how did we use microservices, and it evolves, and we learn that it shouldn't be too small, it shouldn't be too big. So finding, learning, tweaking, that's as we speak, we were there happening with agents at the moment, and I enjoy all the new insights that we get from almost every day on how it evolves.
Yeah, but for example, for microservices, we learned that, for example, DDD was a very nice approach to get to your bounded context, and that there might have been a nice service. Do you see the same thing applies to agents, for example? So would an agent be something like, which is then also a bounded context in which it would work?
I wouldn't be able to. It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense, because
No.
I already see in the industry that people say, oh, but every microservice now can become an agent.
I think that if you step back a little bit, then the granularity of things, and what does a microservice do? How many tasks does it have? And initially we said one thing, it should do one thing and do it well. But later we learned that it's more about ABCs, autonomous business capabilities that the thing offers, and that's where the nice fit with domain-driven design occur, because then you have well-defined boundaries, and that's fine. So flipping that to agents, if you think of an agent, and there's probably many definitions, but a model that can work with tools and is instructed, so TIM, tools, instructions, and a model, then it's about what tools does it have, what is the scope of the instructions that I give, and which model would work well, a large language model, small language model. So figuring out what is the right size and how that you make sure that this thing has a business capability, it can do a thing and it can do it autonomously, would allow for similar patterns that we discovered during microservices. So it's not that different, it's just a different way of how do I realize business functionality, which goes back to where we started, a developer being a person that realizes business value.
That's a nice way to map it. So if you then look at, like, again, 20 years in our industry, what kind of patterns do you see repeating all the time here?
The Gartner hype cycle.
The Gartner hype cycle, okay, sure. Are there specific things that you see, you recognize all the time that they are coming back, or is it actually literally something different all the time?
We throw away the baby together with the water.
So elaborate on that. So
there's a new hype, and then let's follow the new hype, and then don't apply the lessons we learned in the previous hype.
Mm-hmm.
And at least not enough.
You see it with microservices, right? Now people are saying we should do modular monolith. It's never one or the other.
No.
I mean, the plateau of productivity in the Gartner hype cycle is about understanding when a particular tool, pattern, architecture style, whatever, is applicable in which particular context. And with every new thing, we go through this It's literally the Gartner hype cycle. And at some point we realize, this modular monolith is okay for certain things. And if we have something that really needs to be scalable, we use a microservice for that. If we can solve the problem with an agent or agentic functionality, then it's a tool that we can use for that problem. For me, it's just tools, but in the end, we're just trying to figure out which tool is solves the right problem at the right time for the right problem, right context.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it seems that we're always got the new shiny thing, getting very enthusiastic about the thing, and then putting all our money onto that one thing. So it needs to be this, and otherwise, there's strong opinions on it must be this, otherwise it's not modern, it's not good.
Yeah.
So jumping on this thing with everything, and then realizing that might not be a good idea, as Dennis just said. There might be other cases where a different choice is better. But it's like everybody's doing it, so I'm doing it too, kind of repeating pattern all over.
I wanted to have experience to put it on my resume, something like that. That's
like a certificate because you're a Scrum Master now.
Yeah.
So that's then the new thing is RDD, resume-driven development?
Could be, yeah. I mean, there was a survey, like the JetBrains does this yearly survey, and it's this one said like now it's one of the most core principles, core skills is to be able to use AI tooling to be productive, which I agree with, because if you don't, then you're going to be falling behind in terms of productivity. That's it. You just need to learn it, and it's going to change fast, more capabilities. I'm using it, and last night I talked to a speaker, I forgot her name. She said, yeah, you can actually put, like I said, AI is very good at solving problems provided it knows the code base. I said, yeah, but you can also provide extra information about the situation, the domain in an instructions MD file. And then suddenly AI knows more about the round, and it can do even more smarter things. Like, yeah, fair point, I didn't realize that. That is probably going to evolve.
Okay.
I lost what I was talking about.
So, Dennis, I also know that you're, I would say, always a little bit vocal about, for example, using different tools behind the scenes. So, for example, Azure DevOps, GitHub, those kind of things. Any perspective you would like to share today with us on where you think that developers should be?
If it's about tooling, then I would say drop Azure DevOps because it's limiting yourself big time.
Okay.
I hope Microsoft doesn't screw up GitHub. But what I've seen right now, it's awesome. The fact it was already my preferred tool because it makes you very effective, productive. The whole developer experience is awesome. But now with all the Copilot stuff, it's just incredible. And I'm a big fan of JetBrains tooling.
Yeah.
I use a lot of AI assistant, Junie. It saves me so much time already.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm working on code base, and whenever something becomes repetitive, I just ask Junie or Copilot agent to solve this for me. That's a big thing. But as an open source developer, I do a lot of stuff with GitHub. It's incredible what it can do. These days, I even feel guilty sometimes that I'm taking a pull request from GitHub and just take the code and put it back under my name so that it appears as my change in the release notes. But it's incredible what we can do. It goes so fast now. Really, it's astonishing.
So how is that perspective for you? Are you more like a specific tool adept, or do you say, well, anything goes, or are there specifics that you really need to?
I don't write so much code anymore.
Okay.
To be honest, my business is doing training.
Yeah, you train a lot.
So I train a lot, and then you only have limited time to write code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in that time, I need to train myself. So I only write really tiny programs.
Mm-hmm.
And those are for me games, and that's just fun, and that's easy, and also getting feedback from a user, that's fun. But so writing code is for me the fun factor. And then architecture. I'm not that involved in any architecture anymore. I'm doing low-level C# development trainings, and so I'm atypical. So,
specifically in performance and tuning, are there specific things that you say?
I can use a lot of performance-related issues in my games. Oh, they have to be really fast. So, I learn a lot about those things. AI isn't that great in performance yet.
As in, it's not fast enough to give you a reply, or?
Yeah, they give you a solution, but they are not optimized solutions.
Maybe you're not asking the right questions.
Yeah, that's true. You can improve everything with asking better questions, but still always room for improvement.
Talk to Daniel Marbach. He knows everything about optimizing C#.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Alex?
so in terms of tooling, I often see the choice, do I do best of breed, so the best tool for each particular area and try to work with that, versus I'm in a certain ecosystem and this is the tooling that works well together. I lean more towards the latter. So best of breed might also work, but sometimes you get more synergy if you pick tools that align well with the platform you're building on, or that cooperate better together, or are more open in it. So I'm not saying it should be a closed system, but we should still have the freedom to choose what I want, but not necessarily pick the best one for this, the best one for the other, but together they don't match as well. I tend to go for pick the tools that allow me to be productive. If I do Azure tooling, pick the tools that work well with Azure, not necessarily the tools from another provider or ecosystem.
Yeah. So coming to those kind of things, is there anything you would recommend if it then comes to infrastructure as code and those kind of things that you say, well, this is more or less the way I should go?
Well, over there, if I translate to what I just said, there's the one that is more open would be something like Terraform, which gives you a single learning curve, but once you've learned it, you know how Terraform works and just need to pick your platform, which you've probably already done. But if you target a well-known chosen platform, might be AWS or Azure, for example, Bicep aligns well with Azure, and CloudFormation works well with AWS. So yeah, pick the one that aligns best if you don't have to go cross things. So again, you'd probably pick what is closest to you, unless you have a reason to not make an actual choice. But that said, I do want to add that Terraform doesn't necessarily allow you to switch easily. It's more about learning the language.
Yeah. So, change the subject a little bit. If you look at the software developer, at a certain point we learned that it's really important to test your code in the right way, right? So more like the test-driven approach that you had in the industry. I think that's, what is it, like 15 years ago that became like a big trend. Things like BDD and stuff, and you, of course, are famous for fluent assertions to make tests more readable. Are there new trends also if it comes to these testing frameworks or actually testing your code nowadays?
I haven't seen anything new. I mean, everybody's still struggling, like finding the right scope for testing. Yes, you can actually generate some of the tests based on the scope, which works tremendously well. But for the rest, I haven't seen. I mean, you have property-based testing, but it didn't really get a lot of traction, except for some people. We have mutation testing, but these tools have existed for many years. So not right now. I mean, we have frameworks like, what's the Microsoft UI framework?
Playwright.
Playwright, for example. But those are just to try to solve the whole interactive and timing-related problems with UI testing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything new since then.
So I can add to that, because I agree that is still there and still extremely valuable. And also there's a whole new challenge in testing, because underneath the covers there's probably now some AI. You know, we've mentioned it a number of times now, but the non-deterministic character of the use of AI in your logic makes testing a whole new challenging thing, because you can't really test twice and expect the same outcomes, but still you need to verify, does it do what I want within the undeterministic nature of things. So I think that there's a new level uncovered, which is non-deterministic testing, which is a different playfield.
So we need one AI to interpret the response from another AI to see if it makes sense. That could actually be a thing.
That is actually being used to validate your answers. Have an AI validate the outcome of your test that you're running and say, does this align with our requirements, expectations, and so on.
No experience with that yet?
Not yet.
No. excited now to discover this?
I think I need to write another open source project.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
It's now fluid assumptions then, or?
That's a good name.
yeah.
Okay. I just gave you the name, so perhaps you...
Fluent AI assumptions.
So if you look at the industry at the moment, what are the things that you are most excited for if you just look ahead at the moment? Anything that you would say, well, you've seen the sessions here, you interact with a lot of speakers here, any topics or things that you say, oh, this is really exciting?
Only thing and what I'm trying to do is to see if I can get more out of the AI tools that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what else can I do to let it do more work for me in a smart way?
Mm-hmm.
And that is something what I'm trying to figure. Today, it's too many options. You can use chat mode, edit mode, agent mode, and then you have Copilot, you have JetBrains AI assistant, you have Junie. Then you have to choose between all the large language models, which new things pop up every day. I have no clue anymore which one to use. I know ChatGPT 5 doesn't work, but for the rest, just trying to get more out of it, pure from a productivity perspective. For the rest, no. I haven't seen anything that feels like, okay, that's cool. No. Aspire. I like Aspire. Yeah.
Aspire, yeah?
Yeah, I like it.
So
I'm looking-
why does it make you excited?
Because it seems to solve the problem of having to work locally with a lot of different moving parts. And that is always, I mean, Docker is, of course, often used, but can be heavy for most machines. It feels like it's trying to solve or create the glue that I need to have more, with working with distributed solutions, which is still a challenge.
But isn't not setting you up for failure because it's moving you into always the distributed solution?
No, for me, it works the other way around. For example, I have a project right now which has lots of services, which we don't really need, so I'm going to get rid of that. But I see we're solving problems that I think Aspire can solve for us.
Mm-hmm.
However, adopting it is probably not trivial, but it looks like a nice, it's the glue which I'm missing right now. But for the rest,
Go ahead.
I agree, totally, but I also think Blazor. I think that the technology of Blazor, what it brings for Microsoft, might be a game changer. It's not hitting off really fast, but I speak a lot of software developers and they are really happy with it. I'm not using it much myself, because I'm a Windows developer more. I train people in using Blazor, but I think it has...
feels a bit like Silverlight.
No, it's better.
It feels exactly like Silverlight.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It's too bad Rocky is not on stage because he would have probably slapped you in the face. But,
Yeah.
But going back to your fondness of Aspire, which I enjoy as well, because I agree it brings really nice things to the table. But when you take a step back from Aspire, you see that it's becoming more about the application model. So instead of looking at the little granular things that make up all the moving parts of, to build something, it starts more looking at we need cache or something, and we need storage. So the abstraction that is being modeled in Aspire translates really well to the idea of a new level of pushing things away, which makes it very easy to push things into cloud, for example, because instead of saying I want some particular form of cache, but I'm just creating a Redis resource, now you can say, well, you want cache, but what is your recipe for that? And that's the idea that Radius, for example, uses. To me, I see very nice things of, okay, more thinking in terms of application parts instead of codes and resources, which makes it easier to push that out into whichever environment you want to run it in.
Yeah, but you still need to understand everything that's happening under the hood, because you still need to understand how OpenTelemetry works. You need to understand how the cache works and the pros and cons. And when you deploy this in Azure, there's still services, there's Redis, there's web apps, all these things you need to understand how they work and how to be effective. So it just provides, as far as I understand and I've seen it, it makes it easy to get started. But if I look at all the code behind it, all the registration code, there's still a lot of stuff happening. It's just as easier to work with. But it doesn't hide away any of the complexity. But I can look in your eyes that you don't agree. But the demos I've seen from Chris Iyer, for example, I feel everything is still there. I still see all the moving parts. It just gets me started really quickly.
True, and you still need to think about things. So thinking is not optional. That definitely true. But the level of expertise that you need is decreasing. But still, you need to know about how do I do effective caching, for example. But in your application, you can just state, I need this capability, and I want to use it, and I'll use some client library to use it. But then after that, I don't really need to know about all of the internals.
I find that scary, because my experience is, in the end, you still need to maintain what's running in production, understand that.
Which we said before, right? So when troubleshooting comes along or performance tuning, you still need to know. But that might just be for the specialized skill sets that people have. But in general, well, maybe those as well.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
But the idea of thinking more in higher level concepts instead of low level details does mean that you look at it more from a business perspective. So. For example, you mentioned open telemetry, which is where developers put things in production and need to observe. You can get really rich telemetry information out of a solution, from the low-level platform in the cloud to the code that you write. But after that, when it's available, now what? What do I need to do with that? So one of the things that I was surprised to see is that now you can define health models which say, okay, telemetry data tells something about the health of my code and the impact on a certain moving part, be it low level, a cache, or maybe more high level, the functionality to do shopping basket checkout. You can make predictions or even tell if something breaks down, what it will impact at a higher level. And then you're again at this business level, which in the end of the day is why we develop things. It's not just because it's a party. Well, to most people, hopefully it is, but you're realizing some things that move things forward, either the world, the business, or whatever.
So to pose another question then to you, based on this Aspire notion, where you raise the bar in terms of the abstraction level, you're wearing a Dapper shirt over there. I mean, why would I go for Aspire and not use then Dapper? Because that's also raising the abstraction, which is then more CNCF-like, instead of going direct into like a framework and an implementation.
Again, fit for purpose. I think that Dapper has the notion of building blocks, which are more internal functional parts inside of application logic. So it's a distributed application runtime. Whereas Aspire, for example, also covers the hosting problem. How do I orchestrate all these things that I need, from database to cache to a mail server? How do I spin that up? Traditionally, it was containerized and do a composition with Docker Compose. Mm-hmm. That was the solution there. But now you can just define that in the app host of Aspire, and it will take care of that orchestration for you. Being available in development, but out of the picture in production. So it serves a different person, and they are not mutually exclusive. So you can do both, but there is definitely some overlap.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So with only 6 minutes on the clock, are you still doing a session, or are you completely done?
I'm done. I'm finished.
I'm done and finished?
I'm finished and done, and it was a blast.
Okay, cool. Fons?
I have my first session after the break, so about spam and memory and avoiding memory allocations and improving performance and profiling and benchmarking and that kind of stuff. So really nice.
So what kind of problems do people have? And you would say, well, if you run into this stuff, in your company or in production or whatever, you should really see my talk.
If you're having problems that you have too many garbage collections and performance issues, you should come to my session.
So how would I know that I have more...
Profiling. Look at the statistics of Aspire and telemetry.
So there's no high-level thing that I know, like, oh, if this is going on, then I have that problem that Fons is going to solve for me.
If your clients start to complain,
Yeah, that always helps. And they always complain.
Yeah.
No, not always, but
they really complain.
yeah, if they're really complaining, and then if you see how much time your application is doing garbage collections, then come to my session.
Actually, I would say every developer, every .NET developer should go to your session.
Yes, please.
Because at one point in your time in your career, you're going to be debugging something like that.
Yeah.
Doing profiling,
Yeah.
interpreting the behavior of async compiler stuff, the stack usage.
I only have an hour, so yeah.
Awesome. So Alex, are you already done, or do you still have a session?
Yesterday I had a session. Today I get to network, to join sessions. I think I'll join yours because I think that the more modern memory management of .NET is well suited for your toolkit and your skill set because low level and you still need it in some cases. And just going to have a good time being at this fantastic conference.
Okay, so to close it off, any tips that you have for people that are visiting Techorama at the moment? I mean, if you go to a conference, you see, of course, you go to the sessions and other things. Are there specifics that you would say, okay, going to Techorama, what would you recommend to your to the audience here? What they should do, or should watch, or should witness?
Don't take anything for face value. Remember it, put it in your mental backpack, everything you hear, because at some point, you may not be able to remember everything, but you may remember that you heard something about that topic and may be able to find that person and hopefully be able to watch that video and learn from that. This is all it is. It's accumulating knowledge and ideas and things that you can use in your job.
Get inspired. So don't focus on just one topic, but see things which you never heard about and get inspired.
Thanks so much.
Well, with that said, I would say, you know, there's awesome speakers at the Techorama conference. They're very accessible. So don't just sit in and listen, but go talk to speakers afterwards. You know, most of them appreciate it that they get to interact with the audience and get some real feedback. Give them your honest feedback of what you think of their session, or ask questions, maybe some deeper insights. And then go do the same with all the attendees. You know, speak to someone and share your ideas and inspiration.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being at this panel. I had a blast. I had a nice conversation with you all, and thank you for watching Techorama TV. And see you in the next episode.
Okay, thank you.